Welcome to the big show, everyone. We got a lot going on. ABC News is in a state of panic right now. You see, the president came out with some truths over the weekend on Truth Social, and it now has executives there scrambling to try and figure out what the heck they're going to do with a network that's clearly a mess. ABC feeling the brunt of this crisis. Meanwhile, you got a lot else going on right now. Jasmine Crockett is going viral because, you know, her little accent, her little stunt is all getting exposed. She really is living up to the phony that she's known to be. And we got to talk a little bit about China and the big festivities that were going on there. We got to talk about the president and his moves against the Maduro regime in Venezuela. We have a packed show. But we begin on this news out of ABC News in chaos right now. As we speak, executives are trying to finagle and figure out how they're going to actually put themselves together in this new media landscape, especially when ratings are terrible, especially when the president really doesn't appreciate the fact that you got all this negativity nonstop there on the air. Well, maybe it means you actually have to do something about the talent that's on the air. Maybe you haven't reflected the diversity of opinion that is so desired in the news business there at ABC News. Well, that's what's coming up right now as we speak. George Stephanopoulos, Donna Brazile, Chris Christie, and a few others are some of the names that we're hearing. Oh, don't forget Whoopi. Of course, Whoopi and Joy. Well, we've talked about that, but I have some more to say on that here for you today because there's a new survey out that really does spell the end of them. I'll tell you, here's the problem. Here is the problem. You cannot continue to operate a network that no one trusts. And the FCC knows this. This is why Brennan sent that letter to the head of Disney, which owns ABC, of course, back in December, before Donald Trump even came into office, basically giving him a warning saying, you know what, buddy, nobody trusts you. Nobody in America trusts you. And if nobody trusts you, then what the heck are you doing on our FCC airwaves? So let me go to what Donald Trump put out over the weekend. This is on Sunday saying, what is fake news? ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos have low IQ commentator Donna Brazile on the show for. Wasn't she totally discredited when she gave crooked Hillary Clinton the questions to a debate? Remember that one, right? Remember when she was working for CNN? I'm telling you, I told you before, this is a political woman. She is not a journalist. She really shouldn't be a commentator, right, on a journalist show. But by the way, the journalist that actually heads up that show, he himself is a former press person for Clinton. I mean, what do you expect, for goodness sakes? This is bias all the way around. Wasn't she fired, he said, by fake news CNN for so doing? Indeed she was. So why would ABC News hire such a dumb retread? Don't forget Fox did it too. You know, he goes on to then slam sloppy Chris Christie and says, you know, this network, they paid me $16 million because of their inaccurate reporting. Now, you'd think they'd pay attention to more of this stuff. You'd think so. He's saying maybe they owe me more money. In other words, if they're going to keep saying lies, and if the bias is going to be so apparent. Now, I'm not saying you got to be a love fest over there, guys, okay? By no means am I saying that. But I would expect, as does he, that there is some neutrality and there's some effort to have both sides. But when Chris Christie is your Republican on the other side, I think you better do a little more scrambling. I mean, hey, when is Scott Jennings' contract coming up? Maybe you need someone like that that can actually fight back as opposed to a never-Trumper that's going to double down on anything anti-Trump. In other words, again, you're not getting the full picture. The American people aren't getting the full picture, and consequently, he's saying, why do we give them FCC airwaves? Why should we? In fact, hey, maybe we ought to charge them. Maybe we ought to charge them some licensing fees. You know, they ought to pay for these airwaves because they have this unfair coverage of Republicans and of conservatives. So at a minimum, can we make some money off of this, please? Crooked journalism should not be rewarded. He said it should be terminated. He goes on to say, and this is what has everybody freaked out this week, despite a very high popularity, and according to many among the great 8 months in presidential history, ABC, NBC fake news, two of the worst and most biased networks in history, give you 97% bad stories. If that's the case, they are simply an arm of the Democrat Party and should, according to many, have their licenses revoked by the FCC. And he put that in all caps just so you wouldn't misinterpret it. I would be totally in favor of that because they are so biased and untruthful, an actual threat to our democracy. MAGA, make America great again. Okay, so this is where it gets complicated Because if they don't have those FCC airwaves, then they don't have distribution. They might actually, they might actually have to stream on that Disney Plus thing that's got sub growth that's like barely keeping up with it. I mean, they're really having a hard time, right? At Disney Plus and some of these other streaming services, they're trying to figure it out. But he may force them to figure it out right here, right now. Americans no longer trust the national news media to report fairly, accurately, and fairly. Mr. Carr, who's head of the FCC, Brennan, wrote to Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney. Don't forget, Disney's the one that owns ABC News. So these threats are actually pretty serious. And now, if you're Iger, what are you going to do? Do you want to keep Donna? Donna Brazile, look, a nice little pretty picture of Donna. Donna Brazile, who, yes, as the president points out, was known to have given the questions to Hillary Clinton. I mean, for goodness sakes, the woman can't even, Hillary, that is, prepare for a debate without having to get the questions from her friend. That was pretty bad. Like that. Let me just give you an example. I've moderated 2 debates, presidential debates, for the GOP, for Fox Business News, economic-oriented debates. In both of those situations, it was a very closed-off wall. Effectively, everybody that was part of the question-making process, every person from production to editorial, et cetera, to the anchors, they had no conflicts of interest in that you didn't have somebody, for example, that used to work for the RNC, and we had people on staff that used to work for the RNC. You did not have them as part of that editorial gathering because there was a desire to make sure that you kind of batten down the hatches and made sure that people like Donna did not get information that they could then leak out to candidates. And so it was very, very guarded. But clearly CNN did not have the same standard, and clearly this woman doesn't have any kind of standard. I mean, you know what? She's funny. I like her. I've done TV with her. She's amusing, right? But she's a political animal, a political strategist, and don't kid yourself for 2 seconds that she's there as an unbiased commentator or even a quasi-journalist. I mean, she's made it apparent over and over and over again. Let's watch a clip.
Well, Donna, you've worked in several presidential campaigns. It's hard to wrap your head around a presidential campaign that is playing out in criminal court.
George, I've never been here before, and I never thought in the years, almost 30 years that I worked in presidential politics and campaigns, that I would ever have to figure out some talking points when your opponent, in the case of Donald Trump, is sitting in court all day and not on the campaign trail. So you have very little to react from. And what I see coming from what I often refer to as the messaging points from the Democrats is, hey, go ahead and point out what Joe Biden is doing for the American people, how he's lifting people out of poverty, how he's providing jobs, getting industries back on their feet, and don't get into the salacious, lurid details of this court case. And that's been great. I went out and bought a National Enquirer because I thought...
Just get into all the great things that Joe Biden, that was before they decided they couldn't run Joe Biden, right? All the great things that Joe Biden's doing for our economy. Again, go back to Brennan's letter. Americans no longer trust the national news media to report fairly. Okay, here's why this is an issue. And for some of you who watch the show, you've heard me say this before. So basically, ABC is the hub, right? ABC News, ABC, the network is the hub. And they have all these affiliates all across the country. And the affiliates have relationships where they pay for programming. And so they're actually paying for shows like this. And they're paying for The View. And they're paying for, any of the entertainment primetime shows that they have going on. But the affiliates, it's not fair to them because they're looking at these deals and they're like, yeah, I'm an ABC affiliate, but what does that get me these days? I mean, nothing. Nothing, because nobody wants to watch the shows that are on ABC. And so, hey, why not just fill the time with something on Sunday morning that maybe is a local news program? Or what about the 11 a.m., whenever it's on, The View? Why not fill that with a local news program? Because then your local viewers would trust it more. And by the way, the affiliates wouldn't have to fork over all that money. So if the FCC were to say, we're not going to allow for you to have these airwaves, they'd have to lose all those affiliates. There's 200 and some on at least of them. They actually only own and operate, last I checked, about 7 of them. They have one in New York, they have one in San Francisco, and and so on and so forth. But the majority of those ABC affiliates all over the country are independently owned, and they don't really want to have to fork over all the big bucks, for Donna and for Georgie Poo and The View. Can you blame them? I mean, really and truly.
Donald Trump is something totally different.
Chris, I think you identify the tariffs as the number one issue. Liberation Day, probably the most consequential day of the first 100 days. Is there an exit strategy for Donald Trump on this? We heard Reince Priebus say basically he's going to double down, but can he make this sort of series of deals that limit the damage?
Well, it depends on what those deals look like, George. And I will tell you that if you look at the reaction of the rest of the world, the biggest problem is that the world now sees us as an unreliable partner.
Right.
And Donald Trump, I believe, misevaluated that. I think he thought he could come in and bully them and just say, we're the biggest economy in the world, and you may not like what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. What he didn't count on was the effect it's had on the bond market as well. And the problem there is that we're now looking at a real potential for stagflation, to have an economy that is in recession, which we're one quarter towards that now. We had a recessionary report
I'm
in the
going to
last
jump
quarter.
in just
Well, the
because
job market
this
was
is
pretty-
obviously what I do, and you guys know that I have 76 Research. I do encourage you to go over to 76 Research and get my 76 Research newsletter where we talk about all this stuff day in and day out. In fact, we just published a piece just last night on gold, and you know I've been pretty bullish on gold for some time. I tell you to take this all with a grain of salt and read all the disclaimers at 76 Research, but I have my sort of long-term macro reasons for believing that, which are varied, and we get into in the piece. My point, however, in terms of are we going into a recession right now, as Chris Christie would like you to believe, I mean, what, they all want a recession? Is that the idea? It kind of feels that way, because then, oh, maybe that takes Trump down, and he's clearly not on Trump's team. I'm looking at the market still, and you know, I know yesterday was a little bit of a wavery day, but we're doing okay, and the market overall is a very good indicator of what is to come. We've seen the S&P and NASDAQ rising today, in part led by Alphabet after the antitrust ruling, and so you know, there's not a lot there for you to say, okay, Armageddon is upon us, but you listen to these shows, and yeah, Armageddon is upon you, and this is why you've got Brennan Carr saying, hey, nobody trusts you. And then you got George Stephanopoulos over there looking like he's miserable. I mean, of course he is miserable. He's miserable because he had to give Trump an apology. He's miserable because his network had to pay $16 million to negotiate that settlement after he had libeled the president, after being told by his producers, no, this is not accurate. You can't actually say that. And he did it anyway. So there's how shall we say, there's a discontent among the talent, and there's this tension between the executives that are, you know, still trying to make a living over there, and the talent that gets these big you know what sized contracts. And so they don't quite have the incentive. I mean, what do they care about ratings? They don't care until their next contract comes around. A lot of these contracts are 3 to 5 years. So maybe you get rid of them and you just write it off. You just take it as an expense. Okay, we got rid of Georgie Poo and he's gone. And now, of course, he's the hardest working man in showbiz. They got him on all the time. He's doing GMA. He's doing This Week with George Stephanopoulos. I mean, he's all over the airwaves. He must really like being on TV. But I don't know if he's going to be on that much longer. I think that the network is being faced with some really tough decisions, and they're realizing that they cannot continue on as they had been doing with this total bias all the time. And as a result of that, hey, you got competition from the likes of, what do you know, the Trish Regan Show. Guess what, guys? Number 85 in top 100 podcasts this week. Not bad, right? And we're going to keep climbing. We want to get up into the top 10. So do your part. Subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. I look over at The View, for example. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I don't know if it's really coming back. You saw Howard Stern had to delay his return to the airwaves. I don't know if this show, I mean, I guess it should theoretically be coming back after Labor Day, so we're getting close to that moment. Is it really going to last? You have a problem when the Media Research Center does an investigation, if you would, or an overview of all of the people that you've had on your show. And what do they discover? 102 liberal-leaning guests in 2025 and not a single conservative. I mean, we're into September, okay? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 9 months, and you haven't had one conservative. I mean, after the presidency was won, both in the popular vote and in the Electoral College, by Donald Trump. I mean, haven't the people spoken? The closest you got to it was, remember when Schwarzenegger came on? Remember when Schwarzenegger came on and he kind of let Joy Behar have it because he said, you know what, if you come to this country and you're an immigrant, I actually think you really ought to be somewhat grateful. I would say this, I mean, I can't believe that they haven't been able to put anyone on except for Arnold. And let's face it, Arnold's not really, dare I say, conservative, right? I guess he sort of ran as a conservative at one point. But let me show you. Let me show you what he said. It was actually kind of spectacular to watch because Joy Behar didn't know what to do. She's like, who booked him? Who booked him? Here we go.
You're an immigrant in this country. Yeah. Did you have a visceral reaction to what they're doing, what ICE is doing when you see the videos of it?
Well, I tell you, you said that the immigrant, I'm so proud and happy that I was embraced by the American people like that. I mean, imagine I came over here with the age of 21, with absolutely nothing. And then to create a career like that. I mean, in no other country in the world could you do that. Yeah. Every single thing, if it's my bodybuilding career, if it's my acting career, becoming governor, the beautiful family that I've created, all of this is because of America.
That's true.
And so this is why I'm so happy to see firsthand that this is the greatest country in the world, and this is the land of opportunity. And I think because I'm such a proud American and a proud immigrant that came to America, I was asked to do, on July 4th, a big speech, the keynote speech at Mount Vernon, where George Washington was laid to rest, and where he lived and all that, to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America, the existence of America. And I will be doing the speech there. They asked me because I'm an immigrant, and there will be 7,000 some people there, and there will be people that will be sworn in and will become citizens that day.
That's great.
So it's really a great celebration. And this is what this is all about, is to celebrate people becoming Americans and coming to America and all that. And so I just think the world of the great kind of a history that we have with immigrants in America. But the key thing also is at the same time that we got to do things legal. That is the important thing, you know. So you got to do things legal, and those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart. Because when you come to America, you're a guest, and you have to behave like a guest. Like when I go to someone's house and I'm a guest, then I will do everything I can to keep things clean and to make my bed and to do everything that is the right thing to do, rather than committing a crime or being abusive or something like that. So that doesn't really work in this country. So I think the important thing is when you become an immigrant, to think about, okay, I go to America because I want to use America for the great opportunities that America has in education, in jobs, creating a family, all of those kind of things. Then you have to think about, okay, if I get all of those things from America, then I have to give something back. You have a responsibility as an immigrant to give back to America and to pay back to America and to go and do something for your community for no money whatsoever. Give something back to after-school programs, Special Olympics, or whatever it is. Make this country a better place.
Arnold, don't forget.
That's awesome. And you know what? It was worth playing in its entirety because how often do they have it's somewhat conservative guests on the show? Never. Okay, that's like the biggest thing that happened all year, okay, on The View. The biggest moment when Joy Behar got put in her place because somebody actually talked a little bit of sense. Well, this liberal bias is getting called out, and it's going to be a problem now at ABC. So the Media Research Center did this study. Meanwhile, there's a new survey, Daily Mail reporting on this one, brand new survey out that's looking at bias in the media, looking at likability in the media, specifically in the sphere of daytime talk. And guess what? No surprise. No one likes these ladies. No one. In fact, in terms of bias, they were at the bottom of the barrel. And then guess what else? They are the most loathed. Nobody likes them. They are the most hated talk show hosts, according to this new survey power list from Daily Mail, having the exclusive on it. So, again, if I'm an executive and I'm running the shop, I say, wait a second, why is this costing me this much money? And I got this darn live studio audience on top of it. You guys can't even find a single conservative to book on your show. The closest you can get is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and thank God at least somebody sounded like they made some sense. You see where this is going. It's too expensive. No one trusts it. Back to what Brendan Carr was saying in his original letter back in December of 2024 to one Bob Iger, CEO of Disney. No one trusts your news. You got affiliates around the country saying, give us the time back, give us the time back. We want to be able to run our own version of The View and actually talk about local issues that are important to us on the ground. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is another example of a show very, very much in trouble. But don't take it from me. Listen to Brandon.
First of all, who tried to overthrow the government on January 6th?
Wait, let me think. Who
was that again? That was not Obama. The thing about him is that he's so jealous of Obama because Obama is everything that he is not.
Yeah.
Trim.
Yeah.
Smart. Handsome.
Happily
married, and can sing Al Green's song, Let's Stay Together, better than Al Green.
Yeah.
And Trump cannot stand it. It's driving him crazy. Jealousy is not green is not a good color.
That from yesterday. Who knows what happens today? The White House chose to respond to that. And this is what they said. Joy Behar is an irrelevant loser suffering from a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. It's no surprise that The View's ratings hit an all-time low last year. She should self-reflect on her own jealousy of President Trump's historic popularity before her show is the next to be pulled off air, end quote. Is The View now in the crosshairs of this administration?
Look, it's entirely possible that there's issues over there. I mean, again, stepping back, this broader dynamic, once President Trump has exposed these media gatekeepers and smash this facade, there's a lot of consequences. I think the consequences of that aren't quite finished. And look, The View's got a lot of challenges there. It wasn't that long ago, I think one episode.
Okay, I just have to stop him. You heard him say that. Like, he's trying to be careful, but he said he thinks the consequences of that are not quite finished. Translation, you guys can lose your FCC license. Continue.
One show alone, they had to stop, interrupt the show, and read 4 separate legal notices to try to avoid legal liability. So I'm not surprised to hear people saying that their ratings are struggling.
Wow. Sir, where does this end then?
Look, I think we need a course correction. You know, it's time for America's legacy broadcasters to return to promoting the public interest. And just recently, Sky Dance, which is looking to acquire CBS, wrote letters to the FCC committing to serious change, to trying to root out bias, to putting in place an ombudsman that would address these issues, to returning to unbiased, trustworthy journalism. That's where we have to go. And I think we're getting some wins along the way. It's trust but verify at the end of the day. You know, we're not where we need to go. But I think this legacy media really needs to reorient, or they're going to continue to run into issues like Colbert, where it just doesn't make economic sense to run a partisan circus.
No, it doesn't. And by the way, the president is out attacking CBS on a day when, by the way, the Skydance merger has gone through. That $8 billion merger has happened. CBS News is now going to be under Skydance. And you can expect a lot of changes there as they try and basically prepare for this new media era. But how do you do it when you got people that are so entrenched in an old way of thinking, not just in terms of the business itself, but in terms of the editorial? And that's where they are right now. So ABC is looking at the threat of possibly losing its broadcast license. If that happens, they lose distribution. If that happens, they're effectively out of a business unless they want to say, go stream on YouTube, or in their case, it would not be that way, right? Because they got Disney Plus, they got other aspirations. Donald Trump may help that along and force that along sooner than they had anticipated. We've written on Disney, we've written on the stock price and whether or not it's a worthwhile valuation for you guys to be looking at. I encourage you to get 76 Research, my newsletter. Take a look. These are the portfolios there, and this is the most recent for the month ending 7/31/25. You can see lots of great top performers there. The reality is this: Disney has a lot of work to do. ABC is just the beginning. The DEI stuff is one thing. The changing media landscape is another. The fact that nobody can afford to go to Disney World because it costs a fortune and you'll wait in line all day long. All of these things are a problem, a serious, serious problem for Disney. We're going to get to CBS in just a moment. But first, Jasmine Crockett is going totally viral. She must love this, right? But not for the reasons that she would like. She's actually going viral because it seems that phoniness that everybody thought to be true, well, we've got evidence of it. You see, she's completely changed the way she speaks. Completely. I mean, think about that nice prep school girl from Missouri, right? Who went to her fancy schools and her fancy law school. How she used to talk when she came to Washington, D.C., and now the little potty mouth she has on her these days. New accent, Jasmine?
You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Baby, because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it.
Is that the same woman? I don't know as it is. Oh, but it is. You see, she's just somehow figured out that the girl from the hood thing kind of works for her, I guess, you know, ever since that bleach, butch, blonde nonsense thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene went viral. Ever since then, she's been out for all the viral moments she can get her hands on.
And so I want people to see him
wait,
and understand.
She's talking normal there. Is she really talking normal? Oh, that was because she had to respond to President Trump taking her down, calling her one low IQ.
I can't name one Democrat. I mean, I look at the Democrats, they're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. And they said, she's the future of the party. I said, you have to be kidding. I don't know what they're going to do. And I really believe in a two-party system. Because it's good to be challenged. It's really good to have a two-party. You know, it's good. Being challenged is okay. It keeps you sharp. I don't know what they're going to do. They have nobody. Bernie's 87 years old or something. And, you know, Biden is the worst thing that ever happened to old people because he was grossly incompetent. And I think maybe for artificial reasons. You know, he had operations and things. So maybe that's an artificial. But I know people that are unbelievably sharp, and they're older than 87. But I watch Bernie Sanders. He's a nut job, but he's still sharp. He's sharp as he's the same guy he was. He hasn't gone down. But Biden is really, he's the worst thing to happen to old people.
Did you see what he said about Jasmine Crockett, though? Low IQ individual. And so I guess she was trying to make herself sound like more sophisticated, so she put on the other accent, you know, the accent that she originally had when she got to Washington, D.C., when she was asked on CNN about that comment exactly. Let's listen in to the other Jasmine. You never know which one you're going to get today. Fancy schmancy private school or girl from the hood? Depends.
And so I want people to see him and understand who he is. This is a person that has a problem with people of color, period. I don't care how many black MAGA out there with their hats. I want to be clear, when we look at who it is that he's kicking out of this country as people of color, when we look at who he always disrespects and says that they are low IQ, even though when you look at his cabinet, this has to be the most incompetent cabinet we have ever had in the history of this country. When we're talking about people that literally have the ability to drop bombs or order that bombs be dropped or make recommendations that bombs be dropped, and they literally don't know how to get the signal chat right. So we're talking about low IQ individuals, but so long as they say that this guy is their guy, and usually if they work for a certain news network, that's the only qualification that's necessary. I've got news for the president. I am not going anywhere. No matter how many squiggly lines they draw in the state of Texas, I will be back and I will be on his behind and making sure the real accountability that the American people are demanding, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, or independents, that it is had when the Democrats take control of this House in the midterms.
Congressman, I'm not so sure about that. You see, because there's a whole new map that just got drawn, Jasmine, and you're not on it. You're not in it. You're going to have to go out and do something else. She's out of a job thanks to the redistricting. But, hey, maybe she could be an actress. Because as you saw her there, she's Jasmine Crockett, representative from Texas, the way I guess she thinks she should appear on CNN. And now, if you see her here, she's a whole other Jasmine Crockett from the hood. This is who the left is putting up as their next big star.
They try to act like, oh, political violence, it's the Democrats and it's the liberals. And it's like, actually, I mean, I'm not going to say that like a left-leaning person cannot be violent, because that would be like crazy to say that somebody can't be. But baby. So like, I mean, this is who aligns with that. So like inherently in like who you are, y'all are violent.
Well, I don't think she'll be bringing the nation together. Baby, right? Baby, you're out of a job. Governor Abbott just signed it into law.
This is Governor Greg Abbott. I'm about to sign the law that creates the one big, beautiful map that ensures fairer representation in the United States Congress for Texans. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Patrick, Speaker Burrows, Senator King, Representative Todd Hunter, Representative Cody Vasut, and all of the legislature who stayed in the Capitol and got this law to my desk. Texas is now more red in the United States Congress.
Wow. That's a big deal. I'm going to admit, there's a part of me, just a teeny, itsy-bitsy part, that will miss the entertainment value of this.
Ms. Green, for 4 minutes and 21 seconds.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Who's?
It's me.
Ms. Crockett.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
I'm
parliament.
trying to find clarification on what quality.
Chairman, motion to strike those words.
I had no idea what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just
you just voted to do it.
Y'all did it first, so you don't want to talk about it.
Voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at calm down.
No, because this is what y'all do. So I'm trying to get
Ms.
clarification.
Crockett, you're not recognized. Ms. Crockett.
I can't hear you with your yelling.
You don't want
calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can you please calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all talk noise, and then
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look, Chairman,
if I
can
come
we send
and
outside
talk
to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a problem.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Chair.
I don't know why
Okay.
you're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
recognizes.
Yeah, I'm going to miss it. Just a little bit. But, she's really just giving representatives of Congress a bad name, much like LaMonica MacGyver did, right, when she had to push and shove her way through the crowd at the Delancey Detention Center because she had to fight so hard for migrants who were accused of committing violent crimes, and she wanted to make sure they were doing okay. She was willing to, pound it, allegedly. We saw the tape. The lady in red, who was just forcing her way through. And there's this one instance where you see her swinging out at a federal officer. She's facing 17 years for that. In terms of, is it not fair? Is it not fair? I would go back to this. Take a look at this. You got tons of Republicans in this country in plenty of states like Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, born and raised. Gosh, New Hampshire used to be actually quite red. It just got a little blue thanks to all those mass holes moving up. Sorry. You should see him drive. Anyway, look at what's happened. I mean, you got 0 seats going to the Republicans. It doesn't seem quite fair now, does it? It's all about to change. Along with the media. The media is in the process of changing as we speak, in the here and now. Oh, poor Margaret Brennan. So this is the woman that hosts Face the Nation on CBS. I have this theory in television, as long as you're kind of like a wallflower who doesn't rock the boat too much and doesn't have too much personality because, it's not a star system, maybe you'll be able to eke out a career much like she has done. She's a perfectly nice person. I will say that. Perfectly nice person. In fact, we used to share a desk at CNBC together, and she's she's decently smart. She went to Williams. She's actually fluent in Arabic. And so it's interesting to me that the president has taken such aim at her, and not just the president. Look at this one here, guys. So this is the president alongside Karoline Leavitt saying that Margaret Brennan at CBS is, quote, stupid. You can put that on record, they said. Now, again, I'm not sure how fundamentally stupid, as maybe just brainwashed she is, because I'm going to show you a couple of clips. Well, they do kind of seem stupid. Here, in this one, the European leaders were coming to the U.S. recently, as you'll recall, because they were going to be there with Zelensky as President Trump tried to negotiate something vis-a-vis Zelensky and Putin. These conversations are still going on. In fact, Putin just saying today that there may be some progress there. Anyway, Margaret had some crazy theory. I wonder who's given her this. Watch.
Oh, wow. Markle let her have it on her own show.
You know, there is concern from the Europeans that President Zelensky is going to be bullied into signing something away. That's why you have these European leaders coming as backup tomorrow. Can you?
No, it isn't. That's not why they're coming as back. That's not true. No, but that's not why. That's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming.
That February
in fact,
Oval Office
they're coming here
meeting
tomorrow
in front of television cameras, where President Zelensky.
Do you know how many meetings we've had since then?
Oh no, I know, and I was just up in Alaska watching the one with Vladimir Putin, where a red carpet rolled out.
No, but it was Zelensky. We've had more meetings. We've had one meeting with Putin and like a dozen meetings with Zelensky. So, but that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're coming here tomorrow because we've been working with the Europeans. We talked to them last week. There were meetings in the UK over the previous weekend.
All right. So he lets her have it on her own darn show. But there's this like cat and mouse game that keeps going on because Rubio keeps going back on the show. She keeps asking these really biased, really loaded, dumb questions. And Rubio's like, what are you talking about? Here's another, watch.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I think that question being asked on the media, that's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build
point
a weapon.
in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not been
I know that better than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons.
Secretary of State's like, I'm sorry, are you trying to do my job?
Like, he is Secretary of State, okay? He might know a thing or two more about that than one Margaret Brennan. Again, in her personal life, lovely person, okay? And you know what? She's Irish. She's Irish, so how can I not like another fellow Irishman, right? And I think she was a step dancer too. And, you know, I have an Irish step dancer for a daughter, so, you know, I like to give her the benefit of the doubt, but these things, they keep on happening. I mean, one after another. And then this was the one that stole the show, when she somehow equated free speech with having led to the Holocaust. Kid you not. All right, stick around for this one. Ladies and gentlemen, cue the tape.
Well, it sounded to a lot of these allies of the United States like they were being described as adversaries or autocrats. It was really the focus here, two things. One of them was migration, and the second was what Vice President Vance calls censorship. He was trying to bring that MAGA message of the enemy within to the global stage. And specifically, he says that European leaders aren't showing that they have strong democracies when they sideline controversial groups. He went out of his way to meet with the head of the AfD. That's a political party that's under investigation in Germany because it's so far right and for potentially conducting extremism. And he mentioned that car ramming in Munich recently conducted by an Afghan migrant as an example of what he says is out of control migration. He says that's proof you've got to bring immigration skeptics into the government.
Okay, so you can't have Anybody that is conservative, listen, the AFD has a history of ties that was a long, long, long time ago. Now, if you look at the AFD, it's actually representative of a conservative wing of the party. Obviously, things are kind of touchy there. Germany just came out with a whole new list of its welfare recipients. Guess what the number one name on the welfare recipient list was? Don't forget Angela Merkel bringing everybody in from Syria because Germany's got a obviously very guilty conscience. Well, they've got a whole other set of problems now. Number one name, Mohammed. So this party is saying, wait a second, we got to stand up to this. And she's saying, how dare anybody meet with them because they are going to give rise to some pretty bad stuff, effectively equating free speech, as I said, with the Holocaust in all her glory, I guess proving the president's point.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
Yeah. So she was called up pretty badly for that. So when the president and Karoline Leavitt now say, she seems pretty dumb, there's a reason they're saying that. And it's getting kind of funny because I'm like, Marco, why even bother going on the show? But I think it's actually important that he does this. Again, in the interest of transparency, like get out there, go on these shows, right? And expose the journalists for their lack of knowledge. Expose journalists when they cut your soundbite, such as they did on this very show with one Kristi Noem just last weekend. Anyway, as we talk about AFD, this is really bizarre, guys. News story out today in the New York Post that shows 6 candidates from Germany's right-wing AFD party have died 13 days apart. This is in the lead up to local polls. 4 candidates, 2 reserves from the AfD political party in Germany have actually dropped dead within 13 days of each other. This is kind of feeling I don't know, Kremlin-esque, Russia-esque. The alternative for Deutschland candidates were supposed to be appearing, I guess, on some ballots in a matter of days on September 14th. Now, according to the BBC, but they can't actually report the truth at the BBC because they are the British Broadcasting Network and they are required, I guess, to just say whatever they're supposed to say. Officials say no foul play is currently suspected in any of their deaths. I mean, really? It just seems a little strange that all 6 of them are dying just days before the election. I mean, I don't know quite how that happens. And wouldn't somebody be looking into the possibility of foul play? Can I raise that question? Well, I'll raise this question. Suffice it to say that now that you have Sky Dance coming in and taking over the reins there at CBS News, there will be a lot of changes. And that means 60 Minutes is up for grabs. Face the Nation, the entire news division is going to have to change as you know it because it's expensive to have. Now look, CBS is always last in the ratings. I know this because, I used to work there. And can you imagine, I would call up, especially if I was trying to get somebody on with me to participate on, if I got assigned a story on The Early Show, which I don't even know what it's called right now. I guess it's still on. Oprah's friend does it, right? Is she still there? I guess. Anyway, I get assigned a story on The Early Show. A minute 20, a minute 10, and I'd call someone to see if I could get them on, and they'd be like, what? And I'd say, The Early Show on CBS. You know, like Good Morning America, except on CBS. Or The Today Show, only on CBS. I'll tell you, it was a relief when I finally was reporting on The Today Show because at least I could say, it's on The Today Show. I mean, really, this was tough, right? So their network is always in third place. The evening news is in third place. Face the Nation's in, actually, it might do a little better. I'm not sure. Face the Nation. All of the shows. If 60 Minutes didn't have the lead-in of football, it would be nowhere, okay? So their evening news is in the tank. All of this stuff just doing really, really badly. But the network had figured out that somehow if they just reduced everybody's salaries and they had fewer cameramen and, they didn't upgrade the equipment. I remember getting a rotary phone, no joke, in my office. I mean, this wasn't that long ago, thank you very much, maybe 20 years ago, but no, 15 years ago or so, 20 years ago. A rotary phone in the office. I'm sorry, by then everybody had moved on to the push button system, all right? I hadn't seen that since the 70s. But if you pare down on expenses enough, maybe you can kind of eke out a profit until you're reaching the point of no return, thanks to the new media environment, which is what we're in right here, right now, which is why it's exciting to have you. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, make a comment, all of that stuff. I should point out number 85. We're climbing in the top 100. This is all the podcasts in the world, right? So it's kind of a big deal here on YouTube. That's thanks to your commitment and maybe a little thanks to my commitment too. Here, live with you every day. Doesn't matter where I am in the world, as you guys saw, right? Whether I was in the middle of the ocean or if I was in the middle of Greece or in the middle of France or in the middle of Italy or in the middle of Ireland. There I was with you every day because I am really committed to this. And this is a new medium where I'm able to do this kind of stuff. We don't have to pay thousands of dollars to get the live truck from CBS to have me go live on the network early show that nobody knows anymore. So it's a whole new ball game. And the question becomes, who's going to last? Who's going to go? I would say this, you know what? To anybody that loses their job in this media shakeup, the reality is if you're good, you will succeed. My parents used to say to me, my dad would say, never worry, Trish, the cream always rises to the top. Remember that. And then my mom would say, in Chinese, the word for opportunity and crisis, they're one and the same. So if you think about it that way, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to poor Margaret, but if any of these talent, the reality is there's a whole new landscape out there. And if you're good, but that's a big if, because I think majority of talent at network news is not very good at all. They just go along to get along and they do what the bosses want and they kind of blend enough into the background that they don't stand out too much and they manage to stay there. I mean, I look at some of these people and I'm like, wait a second. I was there 20 years ago. For goodness sakes, you're still there. It's way more fun over here. Just saying. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. I'll tell you this, the media really got busted. Speaking of CBS, Colbert's one of them. They got busted over this whole Donald Trump is dead hoax. I mean, this was unbelievable. They were going with this, and the Democrats too. Did you see Timmy boy, Tampon Tim? I always forget his last name because, there was that Tim Kaine who looked just like him that ran with Hillary. And then we had Tim Walz from Minnesota. I mean, they're like carbon copies of each other, and they're both Timmys. And he ran with Kamala Harris. Anyway, the media is getting kind of busted on this whole Trump is dead thing. I mean, this is one of the guys, Colbert, of course. He's still in the slot for a little while. He's been told his show will not continue on. And part of it is because of his bias and then the fact that he's just bleeding cash, right? You're talking about $30, $40, $50 million. You take your pick right down the drain because apparently he doesn't know how to run a business very well. Anyway, Forbes reporting, this is him saying this on his show, which, by the way, we can't even show you the clip because he's so bad at running a business, he doesn't understand that clips actually make him relevant. And yours truly will get hit with a copyright strike if I run anything from his show because, he's that great. He's that great that we can't possibly run it without paying him. Please, we're actually trying to give him some publicity. If he had any publicity and was part of the regular, normal conversation at the water cooler, maybe he'd still have a job. Maybe people would watch. But anyway, I can't run the clip. I can only tell you what he said in his segment, pointing out that Forbes over the weekend was like, oh my gosh, there's these frenzied social media rumors speculating on whether or not the president has died. You had CNN covering it. Now, he's basically just out on the golf course. But think about it. It's amazing because we're living in a world where we have so much transparency and so much access access to the president of the United States. If he goes missing for 48 hours, people are like, oh my gosh, what happened to him? What happened to him? What happened to him? So Colbert, his audience, he did this story. This was what was crazy to me. They actually booed. You know that that's on cue, by the way. They had the cue cards that they hold up. Remember I told you the expensive studio audience and all the wranglers that you have to have for them? They got a cue card that says, okay, everybody boo now. He said, when I came back to the office, I was shocked to learn that over the weekend the biggest story was frenzied social media rumors speculating whether Donald Trump had died. For the record, Donald Trump is very much alive, okay? Audience boos. No, we like our presidents alive, he says. Laughter. And then he goes on, he's very much alive, blah, 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 blah. I'll tell you, it was not as bad as one Timmy Waltz, who actually is just a disgusting human being in my view. Absolutely, positively disgusting in every way, shape, or form, including what he said, kind of hoping for, I mean, what kind of guy is this? He's not very American in my book.
You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
You sick, and I'm going to have to hold my tongue. But you know what? Scott Jennings called him out for what he is on CNN, calling him a, well, bad word, and then some.
Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, holding up a phone in front of a rally saying, well, we thought we were going to wake up and find out the president had died. Someday it'll happen. Someday it'll happen. I used to say he was the biggest buffoon in American politics, but it's worse now. No political official, no elected official should be walking around saying, well, I'm hoping we wake up one day and the president of the United States has died. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy. These are crazy people. Thank God they're not running the country. Really, thank God they're not running the country. Donald Trump reacting to these rumors that were out there. Listen.
3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors.
You know, I just got to say, it is a sign of the times when if somebody goes missing for however many hours, people start talking like that. In that sign of the times, we do have transparency. We do have access. And you know what? We're very thankful for that. Very, very thankful for that. Over in China, what are they doing? They're gearing up for they had their big festivities. Meanwhile, communist Venezuela is getting a message loud and clear. There was a boat that the government took out just yesterday afternoon because it's believed to have been trafficking in illicit drugs, and, it's not allowed. So this is quite a message, a new message that the Trump administration is sending to Venezuela. Let me show you. Here's the video of the boat as it was cruising along. It's believed to be narco-trafficking, and they were not going to have this, and consequently, the administration made the call to take this one out, basically sending quite a message to one Nicolas Maduro. Here's Donald Trump talking about this incident just moments after it happened, just ahead of the release of this video yesterday.
When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that, and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago, and our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it. We didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing. And you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over.
Mm-hmm. And you saw it. So this is an escalation of sorts. He's making it very clear to Nicolas Maduro, we do not want this coming into our country, and we will take measures to defend ourselves from this drug trade. And where this goes from here, not entirely sure. Keep in mind that Maduro really hasn't responded other than to perhaps try to communicate that he's got China in his back pocket. Let me see if I can show you guys this because, oh yeah, here we go. He's out on social media bragging about his Chinese phone.
Ahí me llega todo por aquí. Teléfono que me regaló, mira, Xi Jinping. Esto me lo regaló Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping gifted me this. Look at it, it's a Huawei. Look at this is the best phone, and I love it. It's the best phone. I got it straight from Xi Jinping. I guess this means that, well, they're tracking you. Senor Maduro. They are tracking you, aren't they now? Because, I mean, if China's giving you the phone. But I think that that was designed to send a little bit of a message because, look, Venezuela's close. It's just under 3 hours, right? Maybe 2.5, tops 3 hours from Miami. And I'll also say this. It's got a tremendous amount of oil. Wouldn't we love to get that oil? I mean, let's just be honest, right? Especially in this AI environment, it's got a lot of oil. The Orinoco region, which I've been to, and the problem with that particular region, it's a ton of oil, rivals Saudi Arabia, but you can't get this stuff out of the ground. You can't get it out of the ground because they don't have the technology that, well, we have right here in the US of A. And so if we were to actually send our teams in there and to have some kind of joint partnership with them, well, we would be very advantageous for them, would we not? And they would be good for us because then we'd get the energy. But for some reason, Maduro keeps choosing to be our enemy, to be our foe instead of being our friend. And then when you're sending boats like that to the U.S., this president means business. So we're watching this one carefully. As you guys well know, I am very well sourced on this story on all sides. Don't forget, Maria Corina Machado. Remember that name. She is the one they're watching to possibly take over. She was educated in part here in the U.S. at Yale. She is somebody who wants to restore capitalism to the great country of Venezuela. Can that happen? It's not entirely clear at this point, but I just want to encourage you to put that on your radar. And why do we care about it? One, it's in our hemisphere. Hello, Monroe Doctrine, right? Monroe Doctrine, alive and well. We're going out and we're taking out this boat because it's a threat to the U.S. Meanwhile, what does Maduro do? He says, oh, I got my little phone from Xi Jinping. Right? Because they want to introduce Russia, China, Iran, all there into Venezuela, knowing that it would be a direct violation of the Monroe Doctrine and that we're going to want to have some autonomy and some presence and some influence there. So that's an ongoing saga we're going to continue to watch at this moment in time. It's all happening, of course, as China has its big parade. And I just got to say, you know what? Their female soldiers are pretty hot. They have the most amazing posture of any female soldiers I've ever seen. They're all like the same size. It's kind of amazing. Did you see this one? So big festivities. The female soldiers marching there. We saw male soldiers too. I'm not trying to be sexist, but I'm just saying, you know what? I mean, look, Eric Swalwell, he'd be toast. I think they're hotter than Fang Fang. Just saying. Okay, so they were all marching in the parade. Then you had a few other things going on. Let's see. They had, North Korea there, Russia there. I mean, it was just quite a cast of characters. Check it out. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you for that. We're just looking at some pictures brought to us courtesy of the Kremlin, by the way. They sent this one in to just let you know, in case you had any suspicion that, you know what, Kim Jong-un and Vladimir, they're tight. They're tight. They're like bosom buddies here, walking down the red carpet together. Yeah. So that was kind of a thing. And then Xi Jinping, of course, holding court there with all his friends. Donald Trump came out and said a few things. He had a tweet about this one saying, guys, like, that's great, right? I hope you're having fun. All your buddies there just trying to conspire against the United States. See, one of the things that people worry about is whether or not they would work together to create a nuclear plan that would rival whatever we would have. And so that's one of the things that's on the table. Russia makes terrifying nuclear offer to China that could topple the U.S. and leave the world on the brink of Armageddon, according to the Daily Mail. So again, the president really not loving this move and making that clear. But then, he also said this, which was kind of funny. He kind of left a door open. So there was this post that he made on social media, like, hey, I hope you're having fun with your friends trying to conspire against the U.S. But then he said something just moments ago at the White House today. I want to share it with you because he's also saying, hey, you guys ought to appreciate us a little bit more. So he's sort of letting Xi know that, we do a lot for you too. We're one of your friends too. It's kind of an interesting comment. Let's take a look.
We saw a dramatic picture where we saw the leaders of Russia and North Korea and China together. The first time the leaders of those three countries have been together in this sort of show of solidarity. You said that they're conspiring
when they talk about freedom. And I don't believe that, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that America, that the United States was acknowledged for helping China to gain its freedom. But perhaps that was just that was a sleight of hand. I mean, I was very surprised. I watched the speech last night. President Xi's a friend of mine, but I thought that the United States should have been mentioned last night during that speech because we helped China very, very much.
So that's interesting, guys. He's sort of saying, hey, don't forget, you wouldn't be where you are without us. We actually are your friend. I mean, you can go back to the Nixon years. Nixon in China, right? We had a big hand in creating the Chinese economy that exists today. So he was sort of saying, yeah, I get it. You're out there with the new ones, that you think these are the cool kids in town. But do not forget, you wouldn't be where you are without the United States of America. So a very diplomatic but pointed comment there from President Trump. Well done, well done. A reminder, everyone, to go check out 76 Research, my company. I'd love for you to get our newsletter. Use code word dollar, DOLLAR, just $1 a month for the first 2 months, and then it goes to $9.95. I'm just going out to some of your comments here. I'm so thrilled. Do you know that we are now number 85 and climbing on the YouTube list of top podcasts. So that's a big, big deal. Not that many political shows. So, hey, another reason to be pretty excited. I'm laughing at Don Baca saying, imagine Tim having to cope with President Vance. I don't think he could run against President Vance. Look, I don't think Tim can actually run against anyone. I think Tim Walz is an enormously bad candidate. I think Gavin Newsom, frankly, just given his track record and some of the things that he's done lately, the imitation of Trump is just a train wreck. He doesn't know who he is. He fundamentally doesn't know who he is. Well, if you don't know who you are, then how do you expect the voters to know who you are? Okay, Gavin, Timmy, you clearly, I don't think you know what gender you are, for goodness sakes. Not to mention, you know that Timmy Walz has never even invested in a stock. Like, he has no retirement account whatsoever. I'm like, oh yeah, buddy, you make what, $160 some odd $1,000 a year, 170, whatever they're paying members of Congress these days, and you never even bothered to buy a single stock because you don't believe in the American economy. You don't believe in capitalism. You don't deserve to be our president. Certainly didn't deserve to be our vice president, nor did Kamala Harris for that matter. They are a bunch of schmoes. They don't have anyone. They don't have anyone. Look at what we've got. We've got a pretty deep bench. We've got Vance. We've got Rubio, who keeps fighting with Margaret Brennan on her show, making her look worse and worse. We got a good cast of characters. All right, you get DeSantis down in Florida. I don't know. I think there is plenty of room for a lot of different people that have a lot of conviction and a lot of charisma. And you know what? Charisma and conviction and je ne sais quoi, that matters in politics. So the Timmy Walzes of the world, they're the same as the Tim Kaines of the world. You know, you don't really notice them. They're the wallflowers that we talk about, right? They don't resonate, whether it be in network TV or whether it be on the international political stage. Donald Trump has charisma in spades. So who do they have like that? Vance has got some, Rubio's got some. You know, they're not Trump. All right, I'm just going to be honest. They are not Trump. But they certainly have more humor and intelligence than the likes of anyone I'm seeing out there, whether it be AOC, Bernie Sanders, Jasmine Crockett, or Gavin Newsom. Timmy, forget about him. All right, so they don't have anybody. And I don't know what they're going to do other than just keep on complaining and complaining and complaining and complaining. It is good to have you all here. Thank you so much for being here. I love this. I love what we're doing. I love what we're building together. Please, if you are here for the first time or if you're coming back, make sure you subscribe. It means a lot. It helps. Every little bit helps. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the show, and I'll see you here live again tomorrow.